I watched a documentary on Robert E. Lee recently, the general for the Confederate Army. And he was like a highly decorated American general for the United States. He was from Virginia. And here was the ironic thing about the whole situation with that. And it really does, we've talked about this on the podcast before, but it's one of my favorite examples of just understanding people's mindsets and understanding that people's decisions aren't necessarily a mark of who they are all the time. He was a highly decorated Union general. When the Civil War broke out, he was faced with a massive conflict, which was, he's an American, yes, but he's also a Virginian. And his homeland, his people, are going to war. Is he going to fight against his hometown? Is he going to bring an army into the town that he grew up in and burn it down? Mm-hmm. Is he going to shoot at his neighbors? So he had this massive conflict of being like, look, dude, I don't want this war to happen. And he eventually came to the decision. He was like, yeah, I'm an American, but I'm a Virginian first. And what's ironic about that is I'm pretty sure, this could be wrong. This could be an embellishment or a sensationalized, but I'm pretty sure, I don't think he owned slaves. And I'm pretty sure the general for the Union Army kind of did. Or something like that. It was something where like the guy that fought for the good side was actually like, you know, like also kind of a piece of shit too. It just mattered like what side they were on. Don't quote me on that. All I'm basically getting at is like one of my least favorite takes on the Civil War when people look about like, oh, why did, you know, all these fucking pieces of shit in Alabama were fighting for slavery? It's like, no.
Yeah, Robert E. Lee went down in history as a traitor.
Yes.
So like,
yeah.
If all this is true, this is groundbreaking.
Well, yes, he went down in history as a traitor, yes, but not really, because also he was honored with full honors when he died by the United States government. Like when he surrendered at Appomattox, which is also a great Civil War story, the Civil War began and ended in the same guy's backyard. It's true. The first shots of the Civil War were fired in this dude's backyard in like Virginia or something. And when they eventually, like 5 years later, they met in that same dude's house, Ulysses S. Grant and Robert E. Lee, because middle initials were huge back then. Mm-hmm. They met in that same guy's house and signed the treaty. And Robert E. Lee came in full fucking military garb, and Ulysses S. Grant came in like sweats, with fucking FUBU sweats. And he was like, all right, dude, you surrendering or what? And at the end, they shook hands. The fucking Union military escorted him out, and it was an honorable surrender. This is another thing that people of modern day don't understand. Honor. Honor. Honor in losing and honor in winning. Yes, you fought a valiant fight. Many people died, many of whom were not fighting because they were evil. Your average guy, I cannot stress this enough, and I will never stop saying this. Your average guy in Alabama, and like I drove through Virginia on the way to Miami a month ago, and there are places in Virginia in 2022 that I would be surprised that they have internet.
Yeah.
It's insane how fucking detached from the world that we're living in they are. And that's not a knock on them, because in many ways they're probably happier. And this isn't me doing that typical like urbanite city guy thing, being like, oh, these fucking like unevolved stupid idiots in the fucking flyover. It's like, no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that like it's a different world. Imagine that 170 years ago. Take that same place in Virginia in 2022 and now subtract 170 years. And now you're talking about a place that's so far removed from what's going on in New York City. It's a fucking 1 week horse ride to fucking New York City. They don't fucking know what's going on up there. They don't know what's going on in fucking Florida. I don't even know if Florida was a fucking state, barely at that point. It's like, they are just involved in what's going on in their community. They might get a newspaper that says, North's fucking with us, we're going to war. And they just go, and all your fucking neighborhood friends are like, dude, yeah, they're like the fucking North is coming down. They just burned down Richmond. They're coming down to our fucking city. They're burning us next. Like, what are we going to do? We got to fight back. So they all fucking enlist and fight for their home. They fight for their country. That's not a bunch of fucking poor people that somehow managed to own slaves fighting for slavery. The average person doesn't own slaves. Let me wake up call for most people. If you don't currently have a housekeeper in your home in Roland Park, you would not have owned slaves. Now, I'm sorry, you don't. If you're just a dude who rents an apartment, you could have been the most racist person ever. You don't have a slave.
Didn't mean you had money.
Didn't mean you have money. Just being racist doesn't make you rich. Surprisingly.
At least not now.
At least not now. Hey, you're racist. Here's some money. No, that's not how it works. So the average person, the overwhelming majority of people that put on a gray uniform and fought for the South were just people who were fighting for the guy next to them and their family at home and their mother and father and their neighborhood and the place they grew up with and the fucking farmland that they've been fucking raising by themselves without the help of slaves every fucking day. So it is incredibly stupid and short-sighted to then look back in history. And I use the same metaphor for even Nazi Germany. It's like, look, are we suddenly supposed to believe that fucking 1 million people or whatever in Germany are just evil people? Or was it a bunch of people just doing what they thought was right for them at the moment to preserve themselves and their family and blah, 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 blah. So when you look at history that way, it's easier to understand A, context, and B, the idea of respect. Because right now, if Maryland went to war for let's take any fucking issue. Let's say that a civil war started over abortion. Whatever, fine, who cares? Abortion. Now, Maryland is a blue state. Maryland would probably side with the pro-choice side of this metaphorical civil war we're doing. I personally don't have a strong opinion either way. I'm not willing to die on either hill. Like, we've talked about abortion ad nauseum on this podcast. We both have similar views on it in terms of like, there's a limit, basically. That's my stand. There's a fucking limit. So am I willing to pick up a gun and kill somebody for the right to choose or the right not to choose? Not really. But given that I'm in a blue state, if fucking South Carolina started marching up here and shooting at the Recker Theater, I'm fucking fighting for Maryland. I'm fighting, I guess, for pro-choice. Not because I care that much, but because you just tried to
play
burn
there
down,
eventually.
Yeah, I'm trying to play there. You just tried to burn down Towson Best, dude. Get the fuck out of my town.
That would be the last straw for me.
You'd have to fight. So that's what it is. That's what it is. It's not just a bunch of evil people.